Hi everyone, welcome to the latest episode of the Chasing Past Golf Podcast. We're in this episode, and finally, I know you're going to look at me saying it's not my fault, but finally joined by LPGA Tour Caddy and one of the LPGA Tour good guys, Jan Meierling. Jan, first of all, welcome to Chasing Pars. Finally,
Yes,
how's
finally.
things?
Thank you. I'm doing great. Yeah, people probably don't realize how long it's taken us to finally get this thing going, but it's good to finally make it happen. So I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, as I say, it's a pleasure to have you on. It has been a few months just to get that out there for anybody that's listening.
Yes.
It's been a few months to try and get this sorted, but when you're a very very busy man and you've got a player like Amy Yang that's one of the hardest workers, it's understandable. So thanks for
Yes,
coming on.
and we don't live in the same area code, so it's always hard to kind of figure things out logistically with the time changes and everything. But yeah, glad we could finally make it happen and coordinate something. So all good.
So I prepared a little something on the whiteboard that I've written down. I think you've already seen it already, but I'll just explain what I wrote down just to the general population.
Okay, go for it.
So this is my introduction to you, Mr. Jan P. Marling, elite level caddy and one of the LPGA Tour good guys, but also does whatever the Yang tells him to do. Smiley face.
Pretty much the elite level, it's TBD. I mean, I feel like that varies on a daily basis, but I'm okay with that. I've been called worse.
But yeah, obviously the most important part was that last part. Does whatever the Yanger tells him to do.
Yeah, otherwise I'd be I'd be out of a job. So
Well, true, aye. Well, that is true to be fair, but I was just
that's kind
I was
of
just
my
trying
job
to
description.
yeah. No, to be fair, I was just trying to have a little bit of fun. And actually for this special occasion, well, to be fair, it is currently sunny in Scotland, believe it or not, in Edinburgh. So I know you find that hard to believe right now, but the sun is coming through my window. I think there's only one hat I can wear for the special occasion to block out the sun. Oh yeah, that'll be the hat that Amy Yang signed
There you go.
in July last year at the Scottish Open. Yeah, so
Yeah, that's right.
so Amy, if you're somehow watching, yeah, look, I'll point it to the camera actually. There you go, Amy Yang,
Wait, hold
fantastic.
on. So she is going to watch this? Because that might influence my answers to any sort of questions coming up.
Well, I don't know. Well, I don't know. I just put it out there just in case she is watching because some of
Okay.
these do go to YouTube. But just in case, there you go, Amy. Thank you very much. You're so kind.
Okay, sounds good.
But to be fair, you and
hmm
Amy have a great relationship, and I've heard some of the shit that you say together, so I'm sure anything that you answer will be okay.
Yeah, I feel like we can keep it PG. We'll
Ish.
I
PG-ish.
mean, nothing that I should say should come as a shock to her because, as you said, we're kind of at that point in our relationship where we just kind of say whatever's on our mind, and we've reached that level of comfortable honesty, I'd like to say. So yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think we'll be fine. She's not gonna hunt me down too much.
Well, she might, you never know, but
I'm still faster than her, so that's fine.
That's fair enough. Right, so we'll start with obviously you and Amy have been working hard together
hmm
in this kind of, well, I wouldn't really call it an off season. Well, maybe a little bit because it has been pretty hectic off season for yourselves.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, you had the second place finish at the Tournament of Champions at Lake Nona
hmm
as well, which is obviously going to be a massive confidence booster, I would imagine, for Amy going forward. But you're currently kind of based in Orlando, I believe, like working on
Yeah.
working on stuff with Amy. How has that been for you?
Good, good. Yeah, we're spending most of the time in Orlando. Every once in a while, we'll go down to Jupiter. I still have a place down there and a course down there where she can practice and play as well. But yeah, our majority of time is spent in Orlando. That's where her coach is at as well, her sports psych, and her home courses. So, and the weather right now is absolutely ideal. So this is a good time of year to be here and get some work done. But yeah, as you said, it's been busy. She's been busy training as well, and just getting together with her coaches as much as possible, with me as well, going on the golf course together, working on some things that we saw that weren't quite where they should be last year. And so, and then it was really nice to have our first event in Nona, which is in Orlando as well. So we were able to kind of play a tournament, but still be at home and enjoy the facilities that she's used to. Um, so yeah, that's always a really nice opportunity to kind of slowly get the season started. As you said, with a good finish, it's always nice to see some of the work already showing up in tournament conditions as well.
So just quickly going on to Lake Nona, it was a very weather affected
Yes.
event that got
Yes.
shortened as a result.
Hmm.
Knowing that you were second in the leaderboard, only two or three shots behind Nelly, and
Mm,
but you never got the chance to try and claw that back. Is that frustrating for
yeah.
you guys as well?
Um, yes and no. I mean, eh, I feel like they definitely could have played a fourth round. I mean, when we eventually got back out on Sunday, I mean, we warmed up 4 or 5 times, I think, in total because they had kept thinking we couldn't go out, then we can't go out, we couldn't go out. So anyway, and we ended up going out for our last two holes because they needed to at least have everybody finish the third round. And the conditions were definitely challenging and tough, but playable. And then I think it would have been nice to have an opportunity to play more on that day and then potentially finish the fourth round on Monday because the weather was again challenging, but also possible on Monday. Um, but with it being the first tournament, more than anything, Amy and I really reflected on it as a nice step in the right direction. It's always nice to play for a win, but I told her, but she also, I mean, already kind of saw that from her own perspective that every good finish is a nice little bit of success and a bit of a um, proof that we worked on some of the right things in the off season. So we'll just kind of try to take that momentum into the rest of the year, and then hopefully we'll not have to deal with something like that again, and the tournament will be able to complete properly. Um, and with the challenging conditions on Saturday and Sunday, it was extra nice for me to see Amy play the way she did because the temperatures and the wind and everything involved normally doesn't play into her strengths because she's definitely not a cold temperature kind of player, and it was right around freezing both Saturday and Sunday. I mean, when I cleaned her grips on Sunday morning to get us out, I had what I normally do. I'll take a water bottle and I pour some water on the towel, and then inevitably some of that gets onto the ground. So when I'm cleaning the grip, I'm looking down back at that water that had just poured out of the bottle and it became a frozen patch of ice. So I'm like, wait a second, this is absurd. Um, and then add to that the 30, 40 mile an hour wind gusts we had and super fast greens. All these things usually add to very trying conditions for Amy because that's not her comfort zone. For her to still show up though and play the way she did proves to me that she's in the stepping in the right direction and that our prep work in the off season was productive. I mean, That's all you can really ask for a first tournament out of the gate is to see if some of the things showed up.
Yeah, definitely. And then then you both played the Saudi International as well. What was that
Hmm.
experience like for you?
Um, a trying week with the travel. Unfortunately, Amy's body was not great once we got there. Her physio wasn't able to be on site for the week as well. So unfortunately, she was never able to fully recover from the long travel. And then on top of that, the green speeds were very different from what she's used to. I don't even remember them being that slow at that tournament a couple years ago when we played there last. But yeah, just couldn't really get it going. Still had some uh good things happening on the golf course though, as far as what we had worked on in the off season. So that was good. And then we had a great last day there, which we did some of the touristy things you could say. So she really enjoyed traveling to that part of the world and see a little different side of it. So overall, I would still say it was a fun trip, even if the golf didn't work out the way we had planned. But we still made the most out of it. But definitely happy that we're back in the States and get ready for the domestic swing to happen.
Yeah, just speaking about that kind of the end of the week fun in Saudi, like even
Yeah,
for you, was that something that like
yeah,
put all golf aside, that it was an
yeah,
enjoyable experience, like
yeah,
to see
for
like the
sure.
desert and like the dunes and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
I mean the again the the whole prep seemed a little shady because Amy's the one that actually came up with it. He's like, "Oh, we got another day here. Let's do something fun." I'm like, "Okay." And I had actually always teased her at the beginning of the week already about like doing a camel ride or just doing something that you can only really do in that part of the world. And so yeah, she she looked up online to find these things to do, and then she signed us up and she was chatting with the guy on WhatsApp, and it seemed a little iffy to me because he's like, "Yeah, everything's set. Just meet me at the local Starbucks tomorrow at that time." I'm like, "Okay, sure." Doesn't sound shady at all. Um, and then we pulled up to that Starbucks, and luckily there were a couple other people already waiting. And then these two guys just pulled up in two SUVs, and we all got in. So I was still a little kind of weirded out by the whole setup. But no, it ended up being a great day. They drove us out into the middle of the desert, and we did the camel ride. We took out ATVs, rode around the desert there, and then did I guess you could call it like sand surfing, where we got on surfboards and kind of like surfed down the dunes. It was yeah, it was fun though. It was definitely cool and nothing that I had done before either. But starting a couple years ago, Amy and I have tried to make a point if we are somewhere where neither one of us had been or where we had been but only had essentially done the tournament and gone out of there, we try to get a little bit more of a local taste of what the place has to offer,
Yeah.
do some sightseeing or just some experiences that you wouldn't be able to get otherwise. So we're trying to take advantage of the traveling part as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, so going into this domestic swing on
Hmm.
the LPGA Tour, like obviously, like you have both been working hard to try and get the game right where it's supposed to be,
Hmm.
essentially. In terms of the next few tournaments going forward, how confident are you that the Amy can have a nice run?
I mean, the travel shouldn't be too bad. It's West Coast, so only 4 or 5 hour flight. But we're also going to be there a couple days early, so we can adjust to the time change. Um, West Coast usually isn't our preferred coast as far as the green surfaces go, even though it's
Hmm.
funny because She actually won her first major on West Coast putting surfaces. It's always the Poa greens, but I mean, everybody has an issue with those, which I get it. But she always has a bit of a harder time adjusting to that. And every time she says that, I tell her, well, Sahalee was Poa, even though she to this day still doesn't believe me. She's like, no, they're some different type of Poa. I'm like, no, they're still Poa greens. Like, and you putted amazing that week. So there's no reason for you not to feel good about this. But yeah, we're gonna go over there a couple days early. We're actually gonna get a chance to play Riviera next Thursday as like a practice round ish for US Open, just to kind of get first look at things. Then we're going to see a buddy of mine in San Diego who's been her putting coach since last November, and they've been able to get some good work in. And then our first event is going to be in San Francisco, so we're going to take the opportunity and drive up from LA all the way up to San Francisco and kind of take that scenic route, the PCH, I think it is, which I had never done as well. So I'm hoping that'll be cool, just because we have a day basically to do it, so we can take our time and grab some sights all along the way, and hopefully some good food too. And
I was gonna say, when you go to San Francisco, have you got at least an hour to go to Alcatraz?
see, Alcatraz has always been on my bucket list.
I've done it.
I
I've done it, by the way. It's pretty good.
Yeah, Mike, I used to have a cousin that lived in San Francisco, and he said it's definitely worth it. But so far it's never worked out like scheduling wise. So we'll try to make it happen. I'm not sure. We'll see how much time we have. It'd be really cool to check it out in person though, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I've only been to San Francisco and New York, but like managing to go to Alcatraz was pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. So
Yeah, no, and San Francisco, I really enjoy the whole area anyway. So there's definitely still a couple of things that I would like to check off that list. Again, with my cousin having lived there for a few years, he's always told me about certain spots that I need to check out. So, like I've never even taken that infamous Golden Gate Bridge kind of shot either. So I'd love to see that, and I don't know, because that's a new destination for us. We used to have a tournament there years ago, but now we don't really travel to that part anymore. So it'd be cool to kind of take advantage of that.
yeah, because at the course that obviously Hannah Green's had much success at. I can't remember for a top Wilshire, was it?
Well,
Was
Wilshire
it?
in LA, yeah. That's
Yeah,
that's down in LA.
but so they kind of changing it around now. It's not a Wilshire.
Yeah, so it's just for this year. I think we're going to add Wilshire to the schedule again in 27 though.
Okay.
So we're going back there after they've completed their redesign, which I've seen pictures and videos, and it looks really, really cool. So I can't wait to see it in person. I mean, it's always been one of my favorite courses on our schedule, just because it's a nice, solid, old school layout. Demands everything in the bag, so I'm really looking forward to. And they replaced their greens now. I think they maybe even put bent greens down, so that'll be really cool to see. But yeah, I've also heard good things about this place. We're going to play in San Francisco. I want to say it's Sharon Heights. Heard good things about it, so be interested to see that in person.
Yeah, and I believe Shadow Creek's in that kind of upcoming schedule as well. Like obviously
Yeah.
it's a joint event with the LET as well.
Hmm.
But for the Aramco series to go to Shadow Creek, that must be a good one because
Yeah, I think
tough golf course.
it, yeah. I mean, we played that one for the first time last year, and it was match play. It was a little later in the year, so greens were just rock hard, and you can get a lot of wind there. It's definitely one of the more unique layouts I've been to. Very challenging. There's a good chance we might not do that one this year just because of how the scheduling works out.
Mhm.
Um, Well, it'll be interesting to see because they're going back to stroke play again. So I hope the girls can keep their heads on straight because that place can definitely be a challenge with conditions and everything.
Like for that tournament in stroke play, could you see like maybe don't know 5 under winning it? Like, is that that's how?
Well, I don't remember what won last time. I do remember the cut being 6 or 7 over par though. So it was, I think, one of the highest, if not the highest cut that they had all year.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I could definitely see a low, very low under, or not low. Sorry, I mean actually a very high under par winning score. So be it 2 or 3 under maybe at the most. I don't know. Again, that just depends on how they set it up. I mean, a local guy told me that time of year should be a little easier because I think the technically the golf course should play a little softer, but it's up to the sponsors and
Aramco.
the
Yeah.
Aramco however they want to set it up. So we'll see.
I think with it being Shadow Creek, they'll want to try and toughen it up a little bit as well, just to.
Yeah, I know the owner likes to have his place be challenging, shall we say?
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I mean, and obviously unlimited budget, so they can put it in whatever shape they deem necessary. Um, I think the layout is challenging enough, so I would hope at least for considering the just the different spin rates that the girls produce and the different ball flights that they have, that they cater a little bit more towards that side to at least make it a little bit more realistic, for lack of a better word. Because even when the guys play there, they struggle and they have way higher spin rates, so it's way more approachable for them. And if they're already having a hard time holding some of the greens, I mean, the girls have no chance. So
Yeah.
I just think it makes for a better tournament if they don't go to the ridiculous side of the spectrum.
So taking it back to last year, um,
Hmm.
it was. I think even Amy will admit it, by her own standards, it was a pretty poor season by her.
Mm.
I know there was numerous factors, maybe a little bit of lack of confidence, but certainly there were injury troubles as well during the way.
A little
Um,
bit, yeah.
yeah, like in terms of 2025, how would you kind of assess the season? Because yeah, on paper, for someone as good as Amy Yang is, it did seem a little bit of a struggle along the way.
Oh, absolutely. But in hindsight, especially how she felt going into the off season, which she was really excited for because we didn't get into the Asia events at the in the fall, which she usually plays in. I think this was the first time in 16 years that she didn't qualify for those.
Mhm.
But at the same time, it was then also the first time for her to have a proper off season. So she almost looked at it as a blessing in disguise because she was actually really able to shut everything down and get a proper reset. So before, where she would play CME, have maybe a month off, then first tournament be end of January. Um, Now it's like, okay, I can actually go home, spend some time there with the family. Family comes over here. We have some quality time together, and then really be able to recharge the batteries. So yeah, of course, 25 was frustrating in the sense that she didn't get the results she wanted. But I think it also forced her to really kind of reset everything. And also kind of make herself ask that question, how motivated am I to get back out there? Because if somebody like her who's been successful, who's been at it for 17, 18 years now on a professional level, motivation becomes a bit of a tricky thing because um, now that she had the success 2 or 3 years ago, which she always kind of worked up to, winning her first time in the US, which she ended up doing at CME, winning her first major, which was KPMG. she had kind of checked off those boxes, and now you're trying to find something else to kind of get you motivated to get back out there and keep going. Um, and again, if you've done it professionally for so long, I think that's a bit of a roller coaster ride. If you ask most people out there, and then you got to find something that gets you hungry again, for lack of a better word. And I think this off season is definitely um, the most motivated I've seen her. But I think with that, or that's also a result of being to properly shut it down first off, and just really take a proper rest, and then get back into get back into it, um, because there's no financial pressure. Like she could retire tomorrow and be okay with it. There's
Mhm.
no outward pressure from sponsors or anybody else where like you still got to do this or whatever. Now it's just definitely something that motivation has to come from inside of you, and how much more do you want to prove to yourself, or how much more do you want to accomplish? Um, so I think all that being said, it was definitely a blessing in disguise to have a off year, so to speak. Um, and you'll hear that from a lot of people that have been successful and then kind of fall into a slump afterwards. Um, it's just one of those things where, as frustrating as it is, it's also just a nice kind of reminder. Okay, why am I even doing this? And I think that's where Amy was at as well, trying to find that reason to go back out there and hit balls for 6 hours a day, and do the grind, even if I don't have to. But what what do I try to get out of this game to make me show up every day and still put in the work that is necessary?
So I guess during this slightly unsuccessful year last year,
Mm-hmm.
in comparison to majority of our years on tour.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I know you have a fantastic player caddy relationship together, and
Mm-hmm.
it is refreshing to see although very serious, at the same time you do have a lot of laughs and jokes at each other's
Oh,
expense.
absolutely.
But the question to you, I think, is, you know, as a friend as well, because I
Mm-hmm.
presume you've got a great friendship together as well. When she is struggling, is that a little bit hard for you to kind of watch as well, and to,
Yeah.
maybe try and maybe try and get her in the right mindset, because like as a friend as well, that must be tough to watch as well as a caddy.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And there were definitely a couple tears and moments where, she was like, I don't even know why I'm out here. And then I'll just be honest. I'm like, we had this conversation, at Evian actually last year, and I said, first of all, you don't have to worry about me, because she's like, oh, yeah, I got to make sure that you're taken care of and everything. And I said, if you're not happy out here doing what you're doing, then by all means walk away now. Like you don't have any pressure to be out here. So that's where, from a personal standpoint, I want to make sure that I look out for my friend as well, because the last thing I want her, or any of my friends, to be miserable doing what they're doing, especially if it's something that nobody's forcing you to do it. So if it means that you're kind of not really become depressed, but if it's just something that just makes you miserable and you just don't want to be there, I'm like, well, then just go home. Like there's nothing holding you here. Because I told her at Evian, I'm fine if you want to take the rest of the year off. Like, I can work for other players, I can do other stuff. Um, I just don't want to witness you beating yourself up week in and week out over
Mhm.
something that, in the grand scheme of things, it's just a game still. And you've luckily gotten to that point where you don't have to play every week. You can happily retire tomorrow and be very well off financially, have no pressure from that standpoint. It's not like you have to get a real job anytime soon. You can still pretty much do whatever you'd like. Um, but life is also too short to be out here grinding every week and just beating yourself up about missed cuts or bad results and whatever it is. Um, I mean, I would hope that most caddies do that with their players anyway. But of course, the relationship that Amy and I have developed over the last 5.5, almost 6 years now, you do maybe make it more personal as well and be like, listen, I the professional sports is mentally exhausting already when you're doing well and you're successful or whatever, and it beats you up even more when you're not doing well. And then you can cross that line where it affects everything in your life. So I hope that it never gets to that point. So yeah, of course, you at that point you look out not just for the player Amy Yang, but also the person Amy Yang, where it doesn't affect her too much from an emotional standpoint, and you kind of go down this rabbit hole. That happens to a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely. And to be honest, I really do. I really do hope she is actually listening and listening into this when this is released, because it just shows you there that, as well as being on our bag week in week out, you do
Mm.
have a deep, caring friendship together as well.
Hmm.
And like in terms of advice, etc., I'm sure that she can turn to you whenever she wants. So
Mm. Absolutely, for sure. And I can relate to her struggles to an extent. I have never had the success that she had, but I also try to play this game for a living, and I know how lonely it gets out there. And when you kind of try to um, almost attach your personal or your self-worth to your results, that's when it can become you can really go to some dark places. And that's why I hope my experience, having played myself, I can relate to that side of it a little bit more as well. And then I think it's always nice to have an outside voice, or a voice that you trust say, you know what, you'll be fine. If you want to walk away from this, there's plenty of other things in life you can enjoy and do. I mean, for me, for example, when I was playing and it got to a point where I just, again, not got depressed, but it definitely affected other parts of my life. I was lucky to find that Caddy avenue and have that be a rewarding experience. And I told her there's so many other things in life that you could do that are going to be rewarding, and where you can find new passion in. So it's not like this live or die situation with the game of golf.
yeah, well, I do want to personally say something to Amy. So yeah, in terms of I really do hope you do, keep going, keep that motivation going.
Mm.
Um, definitely hope things do turn. And in terms of your, physical health, I hope that kind of eases up as well. Because yeah, like at the end of the day, you're an unbelievable player, and you still got all the talent in the world. And well, obviously, I alluded to at the start of the show, you signed my hat, etc. But deep down, she's a lovely person as well. So
Yeah, I think you'll be hard pressed to find somebody out there that doesn't like her, from caddies or players or just people in general in her life that are around her. I mean, as much shit as I love to give her, she's she definitely uh, became a huge blessing in my life. So she deserves whatever she wants to get out of life, game of golf as well, but just life in general.
Yeah,
So she's definitely one of the good ones.
and fingers crossed the hunger doesn't leave, and that we can see the
We're talking
Yanger
on
as
the
a
golf course, right? Because off the golf
yeah.
course, that hunger is always there. She could eat like no other.
I remember that at the Thai caravan or whatever it was.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
she's a regular customer there.
yeah.
That's one of the highlights. Well, that's really one of the highlights of every week wherever you go. Whatever food spot that we discover that is really good, that's usually on top of the priority list as far as checking off those boxes wherever we are for sure.
But yeah, like definitely on the golf course, hope the hunger doesn't wear off, and that obviously that we see the Yanger, as I like to call her, for some reason I don't know why, but hopefully we'll see back to your best. So fingers
Oh
crossed.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
One last question about Amy. So in
Mm,
terms of last year,
hmm
do you think because of how successful 2023 and 2024 was, do you think,
hmm
especially 2024 with the biggest win of her career by a country mile,
mm.
do you think she put too much pressure on herself to try and keep going in 2025?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this as a team with her sports psych, her coach, myself. You know, if we got it's hard to say too motivated, but expectations kind of rising a little bit. Definitely. I mean, again, we all know how talented she is, so it's hard not to have expectations, but it's a fickle thing. So I think just again resetting everything and become more process orientated and really also strip a lot of things down to the basics. We definitely had to look at the things that we were doing in 25 and see, okay, where did we maybe get a little too caught up in details and too overcomplicated things? And Amy's always by nature has been a very this not in a negative way, but take a very simple minded approach just because that's how good she is. So she never was into the super technical stuff. I mean, we talk about things here and there, but at the end of the day, when she's on the golf course, she likes to keep it as simple as possible, which is also part of the reason. And I'm so lucky because she's one of the easiest players to work for in terms of not getting too involved in unnecessary details when we discuss the shots or certain things on the golf course in terms of strategy. Just really try to dumb it down to the most simple things. So that's I think where we kind of looked at the week of CME. We looked at Sahalee and said, okay, during those weeks, what did we really focus on, and how not necessarily how we can replicate it, because that's I think it's always a tough thing to ask for, but how can we kind of try to create that environment where these really really good weeks were happening. And it was definitely never a we were trying extra hard those weeks. We are still just following the basic principles, the things that we know that make Amy tick, and just kind of almost work in an opposite direction of adding things, but just taking things away and just keeping it very simple and basic for her, because that's usually when her talent shines through the most. Um, but it's always a fine line. You know, you always have success, and then you try to either keep that or even improve on that, and that's where it becomes tricky. How do we approach the time after a great win, keeping things the same, maybe make it even better. And I think that's as a coach, as a caddy, all those things are things that you also have to experience though and learn from them, and then hopefully improve on the next time around.
Yeah, right, Jan. On to you. I feel
Mm.
I do realize we've been talking about Amy for a good like past half an
Well,
hour.
rightfully so. I mean,
35 minutes,
there's the
and
only
that's
reason I'm sitting here is because of her. So,
and obviously, Amy, that is no disrespect to you at all, but like also
oh, she hates
Jan.
talking about herself. So she would 100%. She'd rather have this podcast be more about me than anything else because she hates being in the center of attention.
Yeah. So anyway, I know that you try to play professional golf for a living, but
Hmm.
in terms of the first idea of getting into caddying, how did that kind of start for you?
So I was playing the mini tours in Florida and just getting burnt out basically doing that. But I was always training and practicing with a couple of guys on tour, a couple girls on tour, including Michelle Wee down in Jupiter. And just kind of through mutual friends, Michelle had heard that I was kind of overplaying myself. I just didn't want to go through the grind anymore, but still wanted to be involved in tournament golf somehow. So she reached out to me and asked if I wanted to help her out for a few events because she, on her end, was getting burnt out just by having regular caddies, so to speak, out there. She just wanted more somebody that played the game himself, but that she also knew on a personal level and just kind of wanted to see and see if that kind of change might help spark her career again. And yeah, so we did that for a few weeks. It just kind of worked out where I was able to do a couple of tournaments with her, and then I actually really enjoyed it because I had already thought about getting into coaching more, but I figured, well, if I can maybe caddy for a couple of these girls that are at the top of the golf world, basically, it can only help me to get that perspective to then take to coaching or mentoring or whatever it may be. And so it just kind of became a thing where I did a few events with Michelle, then a few events with another player, and I was lucky enough to be with players that I really enjoyed being around and keep learning more about that aspect of the game. And so, yeah, 10 years later, I'm still doing it. What definitely wasn't the plan. I was thinking of maybe doing it 2 or 3 years, but then more opportunities kind of came along, and I realized that even not playing the tournament myself as a player, just being on the other side of the bag, I was going through very similar emotions as far as the nervousness and the competitive juices, and then also the rewarding moments if one of my players ended up doing really well. So I was like, I'm just going to stick with this for now because as a coach, I think you definitely also have that. But obviously, as a caddy, you're inside the ropes with the player and you're right there when it happens, which in hindsight, with, for example, the success I've had with Amy, I don't think you can compare that to anything else. It's just such a rewarding experience. So yeah, because that's
So
obviously why I got into the game to have those moments as a player. So
yeah, yeah, definitely. So in So in terms of in terms of your own golf game, what does it look like at the minute? And is there any part of you is there any part of you that kind of wishes that you might have stuck to it, or you kind of or you
yeah.
kind of put that to bed, and obviously the caddying experience right now for you is kind of what made you so.
So I have a very complicated love-hate relationship with this game. And guys always give me shit because we have quite a few guys out there that caddy now that I actually still know from playing back in the mini tours or that have just played the similar mini tour circuit that I played with, that I played on, and they always ask for games and whatever. And I hate going out to play golf just casually if I know I'm not going to do well. I certainly don't expect to play the way I used to play, but I definitely don't enjoy just beating balls out there. Like if I do it, I still want to do it properly. And same thing with Amy. She'll ask me, "It's like, hey, you want to come out and play?" Like, Amy, I haven't hit a ball in 3 months. Like, I'm just gonna dink it around there, and I can't enjoy that part of it. So I'll be like, let me give a few days of practice in. I just want to shake off some rust. And as much as I love caddying, it definitely beats your body up. So my range of motion has gone down tremendously. But for example, the last few days I've been hitting balls a little bit more regularly, and I every once in a while I'll feel more like a normal golf swing. What feels normal to me anyway, like a normal golf swing. I'm like, oh yeah, I actually enjoy this now. Um, and then I'm like, okay, now I can actually see myself going out and play 9 holes and have some fun. Um, it's just way too frustrating for me to go out there and just beat balls around a golf course and play horribly. Uh, if I've played to a certain level in the past, it's just kind of hard for me to do that. Like my mom, it's the same thing. She used to be a professional tennis player, and then she had stopped playing and started playing golf full time, basically, just as a hobby though. And I remember 10, 15, 20 years ago, I was getting a little bit into tennis again, and I asked my mom, I was like, "Hey, do you want to play a little bit?" She's like, "No, I really have no interest." And I didn't understand it at the time, but she's like, I used to play to a pretty high level, and I'm not just gonna stand there on the tennis court and just beat the ball back and forth over the net just for kicks and giggles. Like that competitiveness is still in there. So if I'm gonna do it, I still at least want to play to somewhat of a decent level where I can enjoy it. So like I don't know that so it's a really weird relationship because I love being out there. Um but if I want to play myself, I want to give myself some time, first of all, to get my body in some shape or form that I can actually swing a golf club normally, where it's not painful. Because actually, I have been hitting balls the last few days, and my left shoulder is acting up. My back is a little tight, so all these things are definitely showing up. Um, but I, yeah, I just wouldn't have fun just going out there after not having hit a ball in 3 months and then play 18 holes with the guys or whatever. uh, Having said that, though, I do really enjoy our European stretch every year because that's where I get to play some links golf courses that still to this day is my favorite type of golf. So I try to make a point of getting my practice in before that and hopefully be in some playable shape to enjoy those few weeks that we're over there. Um, because otherwise again I would just get way too frustrated out there, and it probably would bring back old traumas from when I played poorly in tournaments. And I mean there's also a reason why I stopped playing. So Amy always tells me, like, maybe you should think about playing like Champions Tour or whatever in a couple of years. I'm like, whoa, hold on a second. I would need at least a year to like really get myself back into it and play regularly. So I don't know. I always kind of think about maybe playing a couple of 1, 2 day mini tour events in the off season, but again, I've never gotten to a point where I was able to practice for like at least 2 or 3 weeks regularly to get to a point where I would enjoy myself teeing it up in a tournament and actually finishing out every hole and shooting a score and all those things. So um, we'll see. But I mean, I just love being around golf, and I love being on the golf course. So it's a little frustrating spending so much time on a golf course without actually hitting a shot. But again, I'd much rather wait until I'm actually in some kind of a shape or form to do it properly.
So here's a good question. So for all the LPGA Tour caddies, if there was to be, just say that there was to be a 2 day 2 day LPGA Tour caddy tournament, who's going to win?
Mhm.
You think?
Oof. Well, they do actually have this thing at CME the following Monday after CME. They always get all the guys together,
Okay. Yeah.
and they play an 18 hole. I think it's like a scramble team format of sorts. Though, again, I've never actually played it because of the aforementioned reasons. Um, but no, they actually do that, and I mean. I would definitely put Lydia's caddy up there, Paul, because him and I, we used to play on the Canadian tour. I don't know
Hmm.
how regularly he plays anymore, but back in the day, I would definitely say he was one of the better guys.
Paul Cormack,
And
yeah.
then Cormac, yeah, and then
Hmm.
I know a couple other guys that are really into playing, like a buddy of mine, Kevin Benson, who caddies for Ina Yoon. He travels almost everywhere with his golf bag, and he'll any 2 or 3 hours that he's got off, he'll try to sneak out for 9 holes or whatever. So he definitely plays a lot, I think, on the road. And he used to play PGA Tour China, so I definitely know he can get it around. So he might be up there as well. As far I know, Shanetti's caddy Les used to be kind of grinding on the mini tour circuit as well in Florida a little longer ago, but he was definitely good. I'm not sure again how much he regularly plays as well though. He used to actually play with Amy some money games because they both used to live in Orlando and practice at the same golf course. And Amy told me that he was pretty good. So yeah.
No, that's fair enough. Yeah, I think one of the other caddies. Well, I've had him on the show actually. One of the other caddies that looks like he plays quite a bit, especially especially in that European swing as well, like in Scotland, etc. Ryan Hilton. It seems like he's got a
Oh,
good.
he loves it. He's a golf psycho. Yeah, he definitely, I would say, invests more in his golf game than any other caddy that I've witnessed. Um, yeah, he actually did a stint at European Q School years ago, and I think he didn't even do too poorly. I think he managed to shoot only like one or two over four rounds or something. I'm not 100% sure, but he's definitely very dedicated. He practices a lot. Like he still takes lessons and tries to learn about the golf swing and all that. I actually haven't teed it up with him. Again, that's just on me because it's very hard for me to get motivated to play when we're actually on the road for tournaments. But yeah, he definitely spends a lot of time playing himself for sure.
So, in terms of the caddying role, what do you think is the hardest part for you about being a professional caddy on tour?
So in my case, when I first started caddying, I think it was the transition of player mindset to caddy mindset. Um, I think as much as having played myself helps me in certain situations, it's also making sure that I don't that it doesn't influence my decision making as a caddy too much. So it's a bit of a double edged sword. So that would be the or one of the more challenging things is not to project my own game on somebody else, especially again,
Yeah,
guys golf and girls golf. It's is different. So it took me a while to kind of adjust my shot window, if you like, the way I would hit certain shots. I remember when I the first couple term or one of the first couple tournaments I did for a girl, and she hit her tee ball a little left. She was kind of behind a tree, and I was like, "Oh yeah, no problem. Just grab your 8 iron, hit a little draw over the tree, and you're fine." She's like, "No, I will never get this ball over the tree." I'm like, "Oh shit, okay, yeah, never mind. I'll have to kind of readjust and look up a different strategy." Um, so that's definitely a challenging part. And then, I mean, it obviously also depends on what player you work with. They all come with their own challenges. As far as Amy goes, I mean, I still would say she's one of the easiest bags that I've ever had, for sure. But in her case, as a caddy, it might be a little bit more challenging when it comes to more the off course talks as far as motivation goes, and just getting somebody to get re-energized a little bit. I mean, I'm definitely not a natural cheerleader. That's never been my personality. I've probably been always more the quiet kind of guy out there. I mean, I love a chat, but I'm not one to like fire you up. So if a player requires that, I'm probably not your guy. Uh, but other than that, I would say the but it's not really a challenge for me. I think anyway is to be kind of the rock out there, like the patient guy. But I think that's also. I mean, I feel like I'm a pretty patient person in general, but I think as a caddy, that's the biggest challenge is with all the chaos going on out there, all the noise that's around a player. You have to be the one that they can turn to, and that kind of brings everything down to zero again, and just kind of gives the player the opportunity to really focus on what's important, and not to get caught up in all the theatrics and all the stuff that happens in a tournament, or if, you're coming down the stretch on the back nine with a two-shot lead in a major. Like that's your time to then show up and be the guy that focuses on the process, and has the player also refocus on the process and not get caught up in the moment. So
So if you were to give someone that's maybe aspiring to be a professional caddy in any way, if you were
hmm,
to give them one bit of advice, what would that be?
be as adaptable as possible, which I guess in hindsight, that's probably the most challenging aspect as far as I can tell, is being able to be a chameleon out there, and certainly have your style, but adjust to your players' needs as best as possible. So be versatile. Don't be stuck in your own way, because you're really an extension of your player. And that doesn't mean that whatever the player does is always right, is always the right thing to do. So also not be afraid to kind of have your own opinion, but learn how to shape that opinion, or shape your process to fit your player's process the best. Um, I mean, it definitely still is a thing where one caddy is great for one player, and not so great for another player. But I think the more you can adapt to players and different situations, like when I was caddying for Amy was injured at the end of 2022, or actually the second half of 2022, and I caddied for six, maybe seven different players the rest of the year just to keep being out there, and I mean, I still finished off the year with Amy for the last two events, but then being able to kind of adjust my process to whatever player I was working with for that week. I think that's the biggest asset you can have as a caddy, along with just having a good personality as well, like somebody that players can see themselves being around. I think that's a huge factor for sure. Maybe even more so in girls golf than guys golf. I think guys can be more okay with, like, okay, this guy, I can't stand his face, but he's good at what he's doing, so I'm just going to stick with it. I think in girls look more for a personality that they kind of line up with, and there's just a little bit more of a natural chemistry as well. So, you know, obviously be a good person, but just try to yeah, try to be as uh what's the best word, adaptable as possible. um, because I think the best caddies out there, um, are the ones that can really be successful with many different types of players.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. So, taking it to the most insane feeling, well, particularly in your career and obviously Amy's career. 2024 KPMG PGA Championship
Hmm.
win at Sahalee Country Club. So from a personal experience being on the bag that week,
Hmm.
kind of sum up your kind of feeling about that week at Sahalee. And then obviously it was 17 years in the making for Amy
Hmm.
to finally win that first major championship. So a long,
Hmm.
long time of trying for her anyway, and on her personal standpoint. So
Hmm.
for you being on the bag that week, in that moment, in contention, then finally realizing that Amy Yang had secured her dreams of being a major championship. Talk us through that.
Well, so actually, it goes back to 2023 where she had a couple top five finishes in majors, and she had always been known to be like the top five girl in majors. I don't know, she has
Yeah,
countless second place finishes and whatever. So always there was this kind of expectation, like, is she ever going to really win one? Is she ever going to close one out? And her coach and I, we would talk about it a lot. But I remember in the summer of 23, I called up her sports psych, and I think we had just finished fourth at British Open or something. And I'm like, is there anything I can do to kind of finally get her over this hump? Because uh, obviously I was happy for her to have these consistent top finishes, but at the end of the day, I'm like, well, she already did that before I was on her bag. She was known to do that. But is there anything else we can do? And he's like, well, no, just stick to the process. Like, she's doing really good things. We just got to keep her on track and whatever. Um, and then US Open is always one for her that's like the holy grail, kind of, so to speak,
yeah,
because it's for Korean golfers. When Seri Pak won the U.S. Open, that was like the thing that put golf on the map, basically, for Korea, and everybody kind of aspired to do the same thing. And so we played the U.S. Open 2 weeks before KPMG at Lancaster, where Amy had actually finished second. I think she was actually leading going into the final round, but she finished
yeah. I
second.
remember it well. I remember
Like,
it well. Actually, you done really well that
yeah,
week.
yeah. So, but then that year we missed the cut at the U.S. Open. This was 2 weeks before Sahalee. So obviously the whole camp was a little down. She's like, man, I just can't show up in these big tournaments anymore. And so we played Meyer the following week, and we had a good session with the coach at home, actually, before we went back out to Meyer, and we kind of reset some things, a couple swing things that I had noticed that we're kind of having a struggle with, and we had a really good session. Actually missed the cut at Meyer as well, though. And so we had a range session Saturday afternoon at Meyer, and she's like, man, I don't know, Jan, like, I don't think, I think I'm done. I'm like, what do you mean done? It's like, I just don't see myself competing at the highest level anymore. And so we had a good range session, though, and we had some good talks, and I said, you know what? Just kind of trust the process that we're on. I know you had two missed cuts now, but I told her I think there's still some good stuff around the corner for you. Like, you're just too good of a player. Um, so I flew to Sahalee a couple days early, and I walked the golf course by myself. And already instant, as soon as I stepped onto the grounds, I had a really good feeling about the golf course for Amy, because Amy is the type of person that almost plays better the harder it gets normally. So visually, if something is very intimidating, it just puts her in a different mindset. If she just locks in, It's almost like if a course visually is too easy, even though it's not an easy course, but it's just there's nothing that challenges you. She kind of, I wouldn't say she spaces out, but she just doesn't have that same kind of locked in focus. And Sahalee, I mean, if you ever go there, it's just you're just surrounded by these tall ass trees. Uh, every fairway is super tight, and there's excuse me, there's just no room for error. So as soon as I started walking the course, I'm like, this could be Amy's avenue because there it just doesn't give you the luxury of getting sidetracked basically. And she played practice round and she kind of agreed when I gave her my feedback after having walked the course, and then she played the front nine on I think it was Sunday, and she's like, "Oh yeah, this like you got to step up and hit golf shots on this course. Like you can't just dink around and get away with half-assing it." So I already had a really good feeling about that. And then her coaches came into town, and we had some more good practice rounds. And again, her confidence level was not high by any means because two missed cuts leading coming into the week, having a bit of an off year in general, and just everything not really like she wasn't firing on all cylinders, but just the environment of Sahalee and just the nature of the golf course made her or forced her to forget about everything and just really lock in on, okay, what are we trying to accomplish here? What's our process? What's our swing feel? And there was one tee shot in particular where it showed up because we were playing practice rounds with other girls and they were struggling and hitting trees left and right and whatever. And there's one hole, the eighth hole, it's the slight dog leg right, and you can either play it safe-ish with a 3-wood lay back short and have a long ass second shot into the very difficult green, or you can take on the narrowest part of the fairway, which you can't even see from the tee. It's like I'd say maybe like a 15-yard landing zone where you have to hit this nice little like high cut to avoid bunkers on the left, which are very penalizing. All the trees on the right, and either you hit it there or you're screwed basically.
Yeah.
And every day that to me that was the hardest tee shot on the entire golf course by far. And it was so funny because every time we got to that hole, Amy just put the ball on the tee, did her thing, her pre-shot routine, and then just hit this beautiful high kind of towering cut shot. And I swear to God, every day we got to her ball, her divot from the previous day was no more like than a couple yards away from our ball. And I didn't say anything because I didn't want it to get into her head. But after the week, we were kind of talking about it. I'm like, Amy, on that hole, she's like, yeah, what about it? I was like, you realize Sean the golf you played with either bailed out left in the bunkers, put in the tree on the right on the final day. It ended up also being the hole that really shifted the momentum in our favor because the girl that was leading at that point made a triple, I think, or a double. The other girl we were playing with, who was already struggling, she made a bogey, and Amy actually makes a birdie on that hole. But I told Amy's like, do you realize that hole hardest tee shot on the entire golf course? You hit it within like maybe 6 or 7 yards of like all the tee shots landed in an area of like 6 or 7 yards basically. She's like, what do you mean? I was like, yeah, we literally had the same club every day because you hit it in the perfect location. She's like, what are you talking about? It's an easy golf shot. Like, no, it's not an easy golf shot. She's like, why? You just hit this high little cut and put it on. I'm like, yeah, but there's so much shit you can. Oh, I never actually saw that. I never thought about the ball going in the trees or the going in the bunker. I'm like, you know what? Like, I love you, but fuck you because you're making this sound way easier than it is. There's and so just those things on the entire golf course where girls were just struggling left and right, and there was a reason she had a 7 shot lead going into the last two holes or something,
Yeah.
um, because she just made it look so easy. But I think again, it's just the nature of that golf course that really brought that out of her because her on that last hole we had a conversation coming down 18 and we were very fortunate to have a big cushion so we could actually have these conversations in the moment, which is always nice. And I was just so proud that not only obviously I was super happy for her that she was finally able to kind of finish one off like a big tournament because she will also would get frustrated every time she gets asked about winning your first big tournament and you've had so many close calls and whatever. But I was also just very happy for me that I was able to provide something to a player to kind of take her over that final hump to kind of make that happen. And again, that's where that as a player, I always aspired to have that, but now at least being able to do that as a caddy, and still feel rewarding to have been part of that process. That's why you pick up a bag in the first place. That because it's obviously nice to make a living and it's great, but it's just that sense of accomplishment. You just can't replace that with anything else. So,
Would you say that is always going to be your best life experience, do you think?
on the bag, um, yeah, I mean, just the way everything's set up and being fortunate to do it with a player like Amy, absolutely. I mean, seeing me the year before was really nice because that was actually also my first win as a caddy. And again, that was my first win with Amy, again, after having had 3 or 4 years of very solid results with her. Um, I don't know. Yes, major is a major, so obviously that always gets mentioned wherever you go. Like even to this day, people when like I caddied for a guy at the beginning of the year in a qualifying school. I was helping out a friend. And when you say, "Oh yeah, UK for Amy Yang," "Oh yeah, yeah, she won the major a couple of years ago, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." So yeah, I mean, in that sense, that's always going to be the one thing that people are going to ask you about more than anything else. But I mean, I'm still not done with Amy, so hopefully we can find a couple more moments that might even top that. I don't know. But the first one, I think, or the first major, is always going to be a special one for sure. Because I also was super lucky in having a lot of my friends there to come to us on 18. Her players, friends, which are also some of my player friends, but also my other caddy friends that were out there. So being able to enjoy that with all the guys, which wasn't the case at CME because unfortunately not everybody gets to play that week. So that probably made it that much more special as well to be able to have the people around us that you're always traveling with and you share all this crazy life with. It's that makes it that much more special for sure.
Before I ask how you both celebrated, when I put the story about you coming on the podcast on Instagram, someone replied to it, Mr. Worldwide Scotty. He said yes,
Yeah.
and he said yes, like with like a few S's. So like I think Scotty's excited that you were finally coming on as well. So
Oh yeah, no, and he was one of the guys. He was one of the first guys out there on the 18th green at KPMG, because we had been through the grind together for a couple of years, traveled together, and talking about our dreams and what we want to achieve with our players and as caddies. So it was really cool to have him there, because we've both been through a couple of low times with our respective players and so yeah, it was really cool to have him there.
So the last and final question then for you is, how did you celebrate after Sahalee?
That might be the most anticlimactic answer that you're gonna get. But we were so busy. I actually remember she was doing media stuff and whatever. I waited around. And then I actually rushed back to our Airbnb to do laundry because the following week, Amy had committed to doing the team event at Dow with J Song. And so we were just in a mad rush trying to get to the airport in time because Jason wanted to play a practice round Monday morning or Monday at noon or something, and we had to get from Seattle to Midland, Michigan, which already is not an easy place to get to. So honestly, our celebrations were not happening. We did in the off season. We had a couple of really nice dinners, and myself as well, but Amy also, we don't like to go crazy. So we just had some really nice dinners too with all the people that are part of our kind of like traveling circus. So yeah, nothing crazy to report. Unfortunately, I remember actually distinctively we because the flight was a little delayed getting out of Seattle. And I showed up to the airport and I met up with Amy and the rest of the gang that was on the same flight. And Amy just sat on her carry on eating a sandwich that she had just got out of the vending machine. I'm like, okay. Reality sets in pretty quickly again. You go off this high, and next thing you know, you're just sitting at the gate at the airport again, trying to make a flight, eating a sandwich. So, uh,
Yeah, yeah. So hopefully, I know. Obviously, like I know you well pretty well enough now in terms of communication wise that obviously Amy isn't the most comfortable in terms of the media stuff, etc. And
hmm.
I'm well aware of that, but. I do always want to maintain that if she ever does want to come on, the invitation is always here. So yeah, Amy, like
Oh, absolutely.
if Amy, if you do feel like you want to chat, then yeah, you're more than welcome to come on. So
Maybe we can get her out of her comfort zone a little bit this year. We'll
well,
see for
well, it
sure.
already sound, well, it already sounds like you've got her out of her comfort zone, like in terms of like doing other stuff in like
Oh,
Saudi and
absolutely.
stuff like that. So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
never know.
And she's actually the
2026.
one that looks more stuff up now that we can do wherever we are. So yeah, I think we could make that happen for sure.
I'm not scary, I promise. I'm just
Well, she
I'm
can
just an
deal with
average
me. I
guy.
think she can deal with just about anybody else. So
Yeah,
I
no,
think I
that's
got her
true.
trained well.
That's true. Jan, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. As I said at the very start, it has been a long time in the making, but it's definitely been worth it. So thank you so much for coming on, mate.
Appreciate it. Hope I was able to keep my rambling to a minimum. But no, we'll do it again, and hopefully with not as much of a logistical nightmare to actually figure it out.
Yeah, no, that's all good. And yeah, all the best for the California swing, etc. And fingers crossed we'll see you and Amy win your third title together. Is that right?
That would be number three. Yes, all good
Yeah.
things come in threes, so we'll see.
Yeah. Well, you never know. Might be a good omen. But in the meantime, Jan, absolute pleasure, mate, and all the best. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much, man.
Cheers. Thank you, mate.
Bye.